يا عبادي الذين آمنوا.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Kamran Hijama podcast. Today, I've got one of my favorite people in the world, McDonald, actor slash DJ, on as a guest. We've been trying to get you on for a while.
It's been,
Wait.
hasn't it? Yes. Yeah,
Jazakallah. I remember the first time I met you. I don't even think you'll remember this. I think I was 14 or 15, and me and a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, we were into music. So we recorded a couple of songs on the shitty mic in his bedroom. I can't remember what it was, but he knew you. I didn't know he knew you. We brought it to you, and you you listened to it. Now back then, me and him, American accents, slang, swear word, just repeating what we hear, really.
yes.
And I just remember me and him are thinking, yeah, this is good. This is good, And I just remember your reaction. You held your face, you had a poker face the whole time, but then you just caved and you just burst out laughing.
I wouldn't have been laughing at you. I must have been laughing with you because I wouldn't laugh at
No. It was warranted. Trust me, it was valid. When you look back.
What feedback did I give? There must have been some positive feedback because I wouldn't.
Honestly, this is why I've got so much respect for you and admiration for you, because what you said after that, it stayed with me till today. You basically sat us down both and you went, look, why are you trying to be someone else? Why are you trying to copy someone? Be yourself, be your authentic self. You're Geordies from Newcastle. Do that, because that will work for you. And you said a few more things along those lines, and it stayed with me ever since. And we haven't spoke too much in the last, what has it been, almost 20 years? Wow. Quite nice. It stayed with me, and it changed even in the music. I ended up getting quite far, and the people watching this are going to be shocked, because Mr. Islam used to make music. Yeah. That's where I've came from. I did end up getting better, and I ended up, making a proper Recordio quality studio album and performed in a few different places and stuff. And it was getting big. And then one day I was like, right, religion. And then the story of Islam, me coming to Islam, kind of stopped me from that lifestyle. But I've always, got a lot of respect for people, for artistic people like yourself, because I understand that fully, that world.
Yeah.
You cannot deny it's a buzz, it's electric, it gives you that feeling.
It's one of the greatest feelings in the world when you're creating something out of nothing. It's not even a magic. It's just when you're using your God-given talents and you're using it in a way that can bring joy to people. Like when the biggest thing for me is when people are like, when you go to a club and they're playing songs that I've done, and they're not playing it because I'm there, because they don't know I'm there. Some people don't know about the production side of me; they just know me as Wayne the DJ. So, and it's the good that just hearing them play, and then this is in the days when people are like rewind.
Yeah.
Songs getting rewound by 4 or 5 times, and the crowd's going bonkers, and they don't know it's me, and I'm like, wow, this is a blessing. It really, it's one of the most humbling feelings in the world. It really is. Those are magical moments that I can never ever forget.
Is it an addiction?
It's not an addiction. It's just something that I really love. And I really want all the time. No, I'm joking. It's not an addiction. I can understand how these things can become addictive, because everyone wants to get the next high. But I think realistically, I think over time, I've learned that not everything should be creative based. You need to have time for you. When I was doing the music stuff, I was in London half of every single week. I was, missing parents' evening, missing, seeing my kids' first steps, missing all these important moments for them because I was busy earning my living, doing, following my passion. And then over time, when I think it was when my eldest son got ill, that's what put it all back into perspective. Because it was like, no, family first, everything else after that. I can't be. It's almost like trying to swim in a boat with one oar, because you're just going to end up keep going round and round and round. If you're not feeding your roots that you've created, how can you build a tree? Where's the family tree going to come from? So it put it all into perspective of, right, I need to be there for my kid, because the mum was struggling, looking after him. So I gave up the music, to moved everything back up Newcastle, and that's what sent me into my second bout of depression, was giving up the creative side of things to look after my son. But he needed me, so I just wanted to make sure that I could give the best to my kids. So I was like, right, okay, I've had my time. He needs me now. It's not like he just wanted me; he needed me to be there for his to maintain a level of a familiar level of security, of calmness. So I was like, it was a no-brainer. I had to be there.
Of course. I think a man provides and protects. It's built inside us, isn't it, to provide and to protect and to be there for our family. And no, massive. It's still, when I say respect, it's like, okay, just because we do what we're supposed to do, that doesn't mean we shouldn't get respect for it, right? Because look at how many people who do the complete opposite. It's like we get taken for granted. I can't remember who it was who said, men are loved conditionally. We're not loved unconditionally. You are loved on the condition that you provide and protect, and if you don't, you get called all sorts of words, don't you? Like you're see and all these things, and it's like, all right, yeah, absolutely, and I understand it, and it's like, okay, and we are built and designed to be able to take that, to a degree. Men's mental health, wow, it's been on the decline.
It's a problem that's always been there, but I think that now more people are able and willing and ready to speak about it. I still wish more men would speak about it. I still wish more men wouldn't see it as it's not a weakness to fall down a little. Everyone falls down. It's part of, when we was all children, before we learned to walk, we would always be falling down. We'd get up and then we fall down. We'd get up, crawl a bit, and then we fall down. We carry the same traits with us into adulthood. We walk a bit, we're strong, and then we fall down a little. Ain't no shame in it. It's part of the human cycle. But unfortunately, society has made it look like when we fall down, you're a weakling. Man up, or all of these kind of phrases around, oh, just get over it. What's up with you? And all of them kind of foolishness. And it's only when you're down in that cycle of where you can't see a way out, unless people have been to that point of where you're close to no return, then I don't think they will ever understand how hard it can be, or the difficulty, or the weight of the world that can be on someone's shoulders, unless they've been in that similar position. Far too many of my friends, I've lost a lot of friends that have ended themselves, and I still get like, I wish I knew. I wish, because as men, we put our masks on and we go to work. And then when we got back to our personal spaces, the mask comes off, and sometimes behind the mask is ugly. It's an ugly thing to see. Some people will make themselves, behind the mask, they'll make themselves feel better with alcohol, drugs, vices, bullying, all these negative aspects that of whatever, just to make themselves feel better in some way, or to deal with the rubbishness that the world has placed on them while they're wearing the mask. And I'm very much like, I just wish that there wasn't the stigma attached. I wish that we were just able just to be like, look, I'm having a bad day. Yeah, bro, I feel your pain. And that's why more people, especially people of colour, we don't talk at all. We're starting now. More of us are starting to talk more. But it's an uphill journey. It's an uphill struggle, because it's always been, like you said before, the hunter-gatherer. men are here to provide, and if we're not providing, then we're doing something wrong.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. Like you heal when you feel heard.
Yeah.
The other thing as well, I think sometimes even when we're at work, but when we're in our social situations, watching the match with the lads and all that kind of stuff, if anyone starts talking about their feelings, like generally it's going to be like, that it is that reaction. Like, what are you talking about?
Stop being a
we're
woman.
watching the match.
Stop being a woman.
Yeah. Right. When there's a big occasion and all that kind of stuff, how many times would you put that something that you've built up in your mind, you've looked forward to and stuff? How many of us would happily miss that to be there for a friend or for anyone, really?
Especially when you look back in hindsight at like friends that have ended, and you're like, I didn't even see the warning signs. I didn't even see the damage. I didn't even see because every time you see them, happy go lucky, but we keep forgetting about the mask. And think about it. If you've got a mask on, I've got a mask on. How are we going to know that we're in pain and turmoil underneath? Yeah, bro. Yeah, fool. Yeah, oh, goal, yay! And then they go home and then they end. And you're like, how are you going to?
This is what I'm saying. This is why your advice to me when I was a kid was so significant, because you told me to take that mask off, and I did. And it shaped. It really did. Honestly, it shaped my future after that, because I really took a step back, and I was like, huh. And then when I started being authentic, I saw the reaction of the people around me, and I was like, all right, okay, yeah, he was right.
It's being real, isn't it? It's just when you're true to yourself, then you've got nothing to hide. You got you got nothing to hide. No one can come against you for anything, because this is you. This is how I am. Like I say, none of us are perfect. We've all got things that we do or we've done that aren't great, but it is who we are.
Man. Like, people have asked me a lot, like, oh, how come your business, for example, thank God it's became successful? And it's like, this isn't just business. Like, men come in here and we talk about the deepest things. Honestly, they tell me stuff that they probably don't even tell their wives.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a safe space, it's a safe environment, and I'm then encouraging them, like, it's absolutely fine for you to feel this way. And sometimes just hearing that, it's like it changes their perspective.
Yeah.
And this is why I wanted to do this episode, just to tell men who are watching, like, it's fine to open up about your feelings. It's fine to share how you feel. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's getting you down, if it's putting you down, speak to someone about it.
Yeah.
Because it can really, really, really heal you from whatever you're going through.
It's not even like you're asking for advice. Sometimes just talking it out and getting it out of yourself, that in its own lifts a burden. Because I think so many times we're carrying around the weight of responsibility, the weight of keeping the family together, the weight of making sure all the bills are paid. And then it's like you've got the weight of all the shit that's going on in your head as well. So sometimes just having that little bit of extra load off, it's like, you can walk back in and just do everything else that you would normally do, like just clockwork. I just have a little bit of a talk, or a little bit of a chance to just exhale. We need to exhale as men, but unfortunately, all we do is inhale, and then the exhalations can come at the wrong times, and we do things in the wrong, sometimes in the heat of a moment, or we'll end up exploding in a way that was inappropriate to the actual trigger or them kind of things. Whereas if you're always getting a chance just to exhale, even on the night time, you're finishing work, you've had a rubbish day at work, and then you come through the door and it's like, everyone's telling you the problems of the day. Soak it in. But then on the night time, once everyone's gone to bed, a lot of people forget the exhale though.
So an interesting statistic about how men spend more time in the bathroom now. And it is, when you really think about it, it's like, oh yeah, you just go, that's your escape in the house sometimes. So no one can disturb you. And sometimes you even get disturbed then as well.
When you're sitting on the throne, That's probably the only time when a family man can be the king of his house.
Yeah. And how sad is that?
So of course you're going to be like, you might not be enjoying the smells and the sights and the sounds. So you're enjoying just the solitude. And you're just like, and again, you're exhaling, you're getting rid of external shit that you don't need in it. So it's like, why are you going to rush that moment? Because you're like, and you're literally dumping out all the negative. I don't want to keep swearing, but literally dumping out all the negative shit that you've been carrying around with you all day. That's why us men are so long in the bathroom. Like, oh, you take longer than a woman, and they were no. I'm just doing what I've got to do. This is my exhalation moment. I'm sitting on my throne, just no rush.
Like my sister, for example, my brother-in-law comes home and it's like there's food on the table, there's love, he's been welcomed, everyone's happy to see him, and he feels like a king. He's like, all right, and then he looks forward to coming home from work.
Yes.
Because he's appreciated, he's loved, and all that kind of stuff, and it's like that's what we want when we go to work. We don't. Who wants to work? Nobody wants to get up and go to work.
Yes.
Come home. We want that appreciation. We want to feel welcomed, and we want to see our partners or whoever like smiling when we come home, and not coming to us with 100 problems. And your mother said this, and your brother did that.
But again, there is a time and a place for that. But ultimately, overall, when you're leaving the drama of the world and you're coming into your safe space, who wouldn't want to feel like appreciated and loved in that safe space? And unfortunately, a lot of guys, and also the other way around, a lot of females don't always get a chance to feel that appreciation. Sometimes they'll leave the work, come home, maybe get a chance to exhale, and then they've got to take on the family duties. Like, I've got to cook, I've got to clean up the house, the place is tipped, clean up the house, and then they still don't get a chance. And then all they do, then go to bed, the head's still racing, wake up, and then they go same thing again the next day, and then stuck on the wheel.
I've spoke to a lot of ex-cons. Now I'm always interested in not what they did, but what led to it. And honestly, it starts off with that kind of stuff. Just small, what we think is small stuff. I started, this was my situation at home. So I started spending time away from home. And then I started doing this. And it just from something that could have been resolved through communication. Again, communication is key. From that to being in prison.
Yeah.
Prison has such a negative connotation attached to them. But a lot of them are just good people who made mistakes or who just got led.
Yeah.
Honestly, when you think of a prisoner, you think, oh, you do, don't you? You have that natural.
I think that, but not anymore. Not now. I know people that are in the system and all of that stuff, and then you see what led them there, and you're like, only. It's that thing of if only they'd have had a chance to do this, or if only someone had given them a this at that point, then that wouldn't have led to this. But some things are just destined and predetermined. But it's hoped that even after a fall, that they're still able just to get back up and be like, right, okay, I did that, I paid my dues, but I'm not going to give up. I'm still going to keep going.
Yeah, sometimes
the child mentality of when you're walking, you fall, you get back up, and you keep moving, and then before you know it, you're running again. So
sometimes you have to go through war to achieve peace, and that's exactly what it is. And it's like, how do we get there? What's your kind of, so you went through your depression. How are you now? How are you feeling now?
Most of the times, I'm good. I still slip a little, but most of the times I'm good. I mean, my situation at the minute is crazy. As we're doing this interview, I mean, I'm in a hotel room, kind of homeless at the minute, hotel hopping and whatnot. But surprisingly, I'm okay. I've been trying to get 2 houses recently. Well, one house, and I got almost, they call it, it's a bit like gazumped on it. Second house that I nearly got gazumped on it again. So back to square one right now, trying to find somewhere to live properly. And it comes with, sometimes it's hard to keep smiling, but that's just the nature of the life. But every day in every way, I'm getting better. Yeah, I say that to myself every single day. Every day in every way, I'm getting better. I'm the first but not the last millionaire in my family. I'm living in my dream home. I'm happy and my family's happy. And I keep repeating that daily, multiple times a day, because I'm bringing my forever new home and my forever happiness. I'm bringing it into fruition. Because if I can't see it, if you can't see it, then you can't touch it. So I'm seeing it. Anything that you can see, you can touch. So
amazing.
And so every day and everywhere, I'm getting better. Like I say,
what's brought you to that?
I think having other ways to be creative now, because I gave up the music. That what led me to that second depressive state, and then having a chance to be creative again, but in a different way, in the acting sphere. So from being a music maker and making like records that you heard on radio and clubs and whatever, to zero, almost like overnight, it's a big loss for me. Like a big part of my body was gone, big part of my soul was kind of empty. And then literally someone on Facebook asked me, I need someone that looks like you to do a thing, could you do it? And I was like, okay. Didn't have anything better to do, and that's what started me acting. Like I'm smiling as I'm talking about it. It's the thing where you can just give of self, and you don't really care if people don't like it. So it's, again, that's a new kind of cycle, but it's a enjoyable cycle that you're gonna be living to work, instead of the other way, which so many of us find ourselves in, which is working to live. So it's a better cycle to be on, where you find something, whatever you're into, find something that you love, find something that thrills you from the inside out, and then chase that path. That's what's going to make people happy. That's the kind of stuff that's going to instill a spring in people's steps again. Instead of having to always have to, I've got to do this because I've got to get the money, I've got to get this because I've got to, and then every day they're waking up with dread instead of waking up with joy. When you're waking up with dread in your head, that's not going to be a good way to go for 30, 40 years. If you're waking up with joy in your mind, the future, you're going to be blind because it's going to be so bright.
Let me ask you this then. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. What would you do, and I hope this doesn't come across in the wrong way, what would you do if you lost acting today?
I find another way to be creative. I've done it before. I can do it again. I'm a creative soul. With the music, I lost it all. This is like people like, we had to cancel sessions with people like, I don't know, Ed Sheeran, Kelly Rowland, people like that, when my son got ill. So we spent all this time getting into the inner circle, and just as we was getting there is when my son got ill. So I had to walk away from it just at that point when we'd find, we was having Single of the Week on Zane Lowe, on Radio 1 and all that kind of thing. So everyone was like, oh, I want what they're doing, I want that. So the years of hard work was paying off, and it was like, yes. And then it all went when I had to look after Jay. It was good. I think it was a good thing, because, like I say, put it back in perspective of family first.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I find it all very, very interesting when we see things like meant to be. You're creative. What's your relationship like with the creator?
Healthy.
Yeah.
I believe.
Talk to me about that.
This is going to sound strange, right? I believe in God, the Father, the Creator. I believe in because it's a God-given talents that I have. I don't so much believe in things like Jesus, and because I believe that Jesus is man-made. The way that the religion is, there might have been someone called Jesus or whatever back then, but not in the way that, because the way that the Christian Bible is written is definitely a lot more to do with the stars above us and things like that, like God the Father, the Holy Ghost, the Trinity, and all that. It's about the stars and all of that stuff. without getting too far into it. But if you know, but a lot of people know the kind of story that I'm talking about, and there's a lot of Christians today that will say things like, "In Jesus' name, we ask this," but God had already said, "Don't have anyone before me. Don't put anyone before me." But yet, all these modern Christians are still saying "in Jesus' name," and I think that's wrong. So they're already praying for. And this is probably what gets me controversial with some of my cousins or whatever, because they're like, "No, you're wrong." But we're praying when people say in Jesus' name, then they're praying to a false god, because they should just be saying to God, not to Jesus, who, like I say, there's a lot of things to point that Jesus wasn't a real person. He was more a man-made construct to force people into this religious state called Christianity, which started from different roots that it had.
Yeah. No, man, I appreciate you sharing that. It's the most controversial, the most sensitive, and the most interesting subject, religion, to speak about. And I mean, I've read now all of the religious scriptures, and when I discuss Christianity with my Christian friends, I always say to them, I'm like, I've read the Bible, a few different versions, and I found errors.
Holes in there,
Yeah, found them, and I show them it, and I mean, a lot of people accept it, and a lot of people have reverted to Islam, or even just not reverted to Islam, but just left Christianity completely. But then there's been a lot of ignorance as well, like, "Oh no, you're wrong." Like, well, no, I'm not. Here's the proof. I'm showing you. Yeah, and it is a lot of I call it brainwashed. You know, I've been to a few churches. I just kind of slipped in and listen to sermons and stuff, and I understand it. You know, even religion, like music, when you're listening to a sermon, it uplifts you. You know, it gives you that adrenaline, and it gives you that feeling. So I fully understand it. I always say to people, go back to the scripture, read the Torah, read the Bible, read the Quran, then form an opinion.
Yeah.
Like, if you've not done those things, you can have an opinion, but it won't be in my opinion, a valid one. And that's what I would advise yourself as well, because anyone who believes that God is one is a Muslim. That's what Muslim means. It means believing in his oneness, believing in his prophets, and in his books, and heaven and hell, and day of judgment, and destiny. Like you say, meant to be.
Yes.
You believe in destiny. You know, have you ever looked into Islam?
I can't remember what it is that I've read. Is it the Torah? I've read something that I was given on when I was walking through town, and I'd finished with the Bible by then. I used to read the Bible when I was little. We used to be forced to go to church, like grandparents coming to church with us on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So we'd sit through these.
Yeah.
It's kind of boring. It was like, this was torture. And then when we got a choice to be able to go to church or not, we decided not to. We wanted to go play with our friends. And then later on, after my dad had passed away, I remember I was in London, and my brother-in-law took me to one of his church. And I kind of got swept along with the momentum of the speakers, and because it was kind of like a, "Whoa, happy day," and I was like, "Oh, this."
Yeah. Okay.
And then the preacher came and talked to me afterwards. Said, "Oh, you're not from around these here parts, boy." And I was like, "Oh, I'm not a local. You guessed correctly." And he gave me a Bible. He said, "There you go. I want you to read that, but start from the New Testament and go forwards, because you'll know the stories, and then go from the Old Testament." And so I did that, and I religiously, I read from the New Testament all the way to the end, and then to the Old Testament all the way through. Old Testament is so boring, but that's a lot of foundation in there, but it's boring. But the New Testament is the stories that they told us at school, for example. And I spent about 4 years reading all the way through, because in the front of the Bibles there's like a reading plan, so you can read it through in a year.
All right, yeah.
So I did it about 4 times all the way through. So I could quote scriptures, but I couldn't tell you what verse it was from or what chapter it was from. And then I started questioning things about the New Testament and then I started looking more into it. And then I think it was when I found out that they'd taken books out of the Bible. So if this book is so perfect, why would they then be removing passages from the Old Testament that they didn't want the slaves and whoever to read? They've taken away the gods that say Africans used to worship. Said, no, them gods who have looked after you for millennia aren't the right ones. This one is. They've whitewashed this guy who was obviously with brown skin. That's why you've got the black messiahs in Europe and all of that kind of thing that even the Pope recently came out and talked about. But yet still people see Jesus as this white guy with a beard a bit like yours. And blue eyes. And I'm like, well, how can that be when he lived in that part of the world? That's when I started questioning everything as well and just looking more into it. And I was like, it doesn't make sense. The New Testament doesn't make sense. And then when you find out that some of the New Testament is actually rewritten stories of the Old Testament, and you're like, whoa, why have I never seen this before? And then that's when I thought, it's bogus. The New Testament is man-made. The whole thing is man-made. That's why I stepped away from Christianity. And then, like I say, walking down Northumberland Street one day, someone gave me was it a Quran? They gave me a religious book, and I thought, I'm going to read this. Just read it. Just didn't really soak it in. I just wanted to read it so I could say, big tick, I've read it. And it was all right. But I think I was having I can't say a hate relationship with religion, but I was like, it's too man-made. I was going through that. Everything's man-made. But the only thing for me that I can still put my faith in is God, because God made me. That's the only being that I can, hand on heart, say I believe and trust in Him.
Yeah, no, man, I appreciate that. I appreciate you sharing all that, because so many people don't. I always say to people, like, talk about religion, share your feelings. Don't be scared of what the other person thinks. Like, just say how you feel. It's all good, man. Like, it's fine. When I read the Quran, I cried a lot when I was reading it, because one, it wasn't what I was brought up on. I was brought up on a lot of, and I'm not dissing my parents here, but culture. And then, you hear the media don't really speak well about Islam and stuff, 9/11, all that kind of stuff. I'm that era. And when I read it, I was like, wow, this is divine. It's truth. And a lot of stuff in there, like Muhammad, peace be upon him, an illiterate guy from the desert 1400 years ago, couldn't have known. And then, because I like to question, I started questioning the Quran. I was like, there has to be, because I've read the Bible at this point in other books. I'm like, there has to be a flaw in here somewhere. There's got to be a mistake in here somewhere. Then I started asking questions, and that's when I really realized the issues within Islam. So I always say, Islam is perfect, people are not. Judge Islam on its teachings, not on its followers. When I started asking questions, I started getting a lot of reactions. And it happens even if you look at my latest Facebook post, straight away, it's like, I'm asking the question, why are you so
being venomous? Yeah.
And I started to realize, like, okay. But when you read the Quran, it invites questions. God invites questions. And I've never, to this day, nobody has actually ever found a mistake, an error, a contradiction, anything in the Quran. And I always encourage people, I'm like, just read it.
There's a lot of talk at the minute saying that the only true religion is Islam. There's a lot of people saying that now. There's a groundswell of kind of opinion that that's the only true religion.
Do you know what it is? I just want to quickly say one thing. I think just on the topic of Christianity, we believe that Jesus did exist. We believe he was a prophet of God, a messenger, miracle birth. He could perform miracles via the will of God, and all that kind of stuff. But he never called himself a Christian. He came to bring people back to the message of Moses. He never used the word Christianity. And again, it's when you read the Bible and you read and you study and you ask questions, you come to realize these things. But it's like, when the Olympics happened, mocking Jesus. My first reaction was I was offended because I love Jesus. I love him. Muslims love Jesus. No Muslim is a Muslim if you don't believe that he existed.
Right.
Where's the Christian reaction?
There was quite a lot online because it was.
Win. Imagine that was the Prophet Muhammad who they were.
Oh, actually,
Peace be upon him.
there
wouldn't be some.
Yeah.
The whole world. There's 2 billion of us.
Yes, it would have erupted. Yes. Actually,
why did that happen?
That's true. I think they made a public mockery of Christ and the last dinner or whatever it was called, with them all at the table and all that stuff. It was just to me the whole ceremony was like a weird ritual almost. And I think as we are getting more and more into these darker occultic times, there really is a war on our souls. And unfortunately, most people are blind to it. Most people aren't seeing it. They're just like, oh, Wayne, shut up, you're a conspiracy theorist. But I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a critical thinker. I just think differently. I ask questions like you. And unfortunately, there was some outrage online, people saying, oh, how dare they, and blah, blah. But you're right, no one was like, oh, there was no riots in the streets, there was no this. And people still continued to watch the rest of the Olympics. So that's why I'm like, well, A, why was there no outrage, like what you said? But B, why did they do the mockery in the first place? Why did these people in France feel safe that, oh, we'll just mock the Lord and Savior type thing?
Right.
And that's when I thought, hang on a minute, something's not right. And the more that they kind of make these things, the more that they can belittle people's belief in a divinity, the more they can belittle people's belief in God or whatever, then it's almost like they're winning, because they don't want us to be in awe of this being up there. They want us all to be, like, all these planets and stuff, and there's all these people on all these planets, so we're just one in millions upon millions. We're like people in a like sand on a beach is how humans are in the world of creatures around the whole cosmos of the universe. And then I think, well, they're making us feel so small and so unimportant, but each one of us has got a light inside us, and they don't want to push the light. When they keep saying things like, they keep trying to belittle us. Every time they're belittling us, they're taking away our light, they're taking away our shine. No wonder a lot of people are walking around in the dark and look at the music industry. Look at the music. The music is big. God. It's dark music. Its roots are dark natured. I don't want to go too controversial on it, but its roots are dark natured. Even I know that. Even I can see that. I can hear that in the tones, in the messages. When you see people like The Weeknd putting upside down crosses and all these dark.
So the symbolism in the videos,
it's disgusting. They're doing sacrifices and rituals in the videos, and people are like, oh, that looks so cool. And people like pop icons, Katy Perry, and all issuing in this whole new era of, oh, it's all right to do this. It's all right to be this because it's the cool thing to do. So now people are just following their icons, following these false gods, following these false prophets, thinking, oh, I'm going to do what they're doing because they're doing it, so it's cool. And that's what's wrong. Yeah. That's part and parcel of what's wrong in the world today. And it's only going to continue to get worse unless more people start to speak up about it. But unfortunately, if you say the wrong thing to the wrong people at the wrong time, then you get labelled. Either, like I say, you get a conspiracy theorist, or you're an anti-Semite, or you're an anti-this, but hang on a minute. All I'm saying is, look at this. Look at the facts of this. Or look.
Yeah.
But even now, I can't even say the things that I want to say because people are going to say, you're this or you're that. And you think, it's not that. I just, certain things we hold. Individuals, no one should police an individual's thought processes. No one should police an individual's beliefs. That's what makes us all different, because we all have different parts of us. When it gets to a point where people are applauding when someone is not allowed to speak, that's dangerous, because it's only going to be a matter of time before those that are applauding won't be able to speak themselves. When people like are coming through with like right-wing kind of points of view, or radical points of view, look, we're all human beings. We can choose to either listen, change the station, switch off. We don't have to ban anyone. Not everyone's. If that's that person's viewpoint, let that person have that viewpoint. I can't. I'm not their judge. They're being judged by someone else. That's not me. I can decide whether or not I'm going to listen and let their words affect me or not.
And then the same people will turn around and say, "Yeah, we believe in democracy. We believe in free speech." The same people.
It's falsehood.
Yeah, mate, it is. I mean, the symbolism of the Antichrist is literally what brought me to Islam. Rihanna's Umbrella music video, where she's naked in the triangle.
Yeah.
One of my friends at the time was like, "Oh, that's Antichrist," and that was the first time I had ever heard the word Antichrist. And he went, "Yeah, it's in the Bible." So I borrowed his Bible, read it. I was like, "Okay." Then the Bible mentions the arrival of one to come, a prophet to come. Muhammad, read the Quran. That was my journey, and then that's when I completely came away from music, which was so difficult, because I was, music was everything. And then I started to look at music from a different eye, no pun intended. And started to see all of the rituals and the symbolism, all that, and what it means, and the Antichrist, and seeing the Antichrist, the system. We call him Dajjal, the deceiver. His system is global now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it strengthens my faith even more.
Yes.
In the story of the Antichrist from the Bible and from the Islamic Gospels, that Jesus will return to slay the Antichrist. It will absolutely happen, because all of the evidence is literally in here, in the Hadiths, the Islamic. The evidence is there. Nobody can argue with evidence. And what the doubters have done, or the opposing side, they've tried everything to take people away from Islam.
Yes.
They absolutely tainted it. It's radical Islam and all these misconceptions and everything. And my fight, the reason I started this podcast, is to bring people like yourself and other people to say, no, let's just have a conversation, because they are stopping us from conversing with each other. Right? And that's what's causing division. There's no unity amongst people
Dividing
anymore.
and conquering. When we're too busy fighting each other over things that shouldn't really be thought about, they should just be deliberated about. And then while we're busy fighting over differences of colour or differences of opinion, the powers that be are still putting in all these radical changes above us. And by the time they've already been accepted into the mainstream society, we've been too blind, because we was fighting a faction over nothing. So divide and conquer is definitely upon us, and the music industry, like we touched on there, it's more and more people are getting used to it, are getting aware of it, but it's still being, the bathing in milk and all of the things that symbolizes, all of these dark practices. It's a dark art. It's the dark art. The praying over albums and stuff. Still, they've been doing that since the 60s, since the 50s. Putting curses. That's why sometimes you hear a song on the radio, what the heck is this? And then you hear it again, and then before you know it, you're singing it away from the radio, because there's a spell on it. They cast spells on a lot of this music now. And I'm not going to tell people to stop listening to music, because I won't stop listening to music. I love music, but I'm aware of what's happening in the music industry. And then it's that thing of, I can choose whether or not I'm going to still listen to, say, Beyonce and Jay-Z. I can choose whether I'm still going to listen to I don't want to say Diddy, because for his Diddy, oh my days, let's just quickly dip into Diddy. No Diddy, but let's just dip into Diddy. Because oh my, like, he harnesses dark energies from souls that have passed. He's a wizard. and I don't mean a wizard in a good. He's a dark wizard. He's a dark arts practitioner, and
no doubt.
all of this stuff he's going through now. It's been ordained. It's been told. These are meant to come to pass. Jay-Z, that's coming. The stuff about Justin Bieber that's just coming out now. It's all of these people that are held in high esteem. It's all Kevin Hart, Jamie Foxx. All these people that were held up there. Kamala Harris has got things to hide. All of this is all coming home to roost. And whether or not any of it, well, it will all come out eventually, but I don't know exactly when. But the Diddy situation is, he's been taken down because he has a different lifestyle. Having a different lifestyle isn't necessarily legal. The way he was taken down, it does make me question who needs to be hidden from the recording, because like how he was recording all what was happening in his parties, the freak-offs. He would record it and then use it maybe to blackmail or intimidate or have a position of power over certain individuals. Maybe some of them individuals are now in big positions of power in America, because these freak-offs were back in the from 2009-ish, no, even before then. So and so people like, I'm just going to pick a name out of the hat, for example, Kamala Harris, say. At that time, she was dating a guy called Montel Williams, who was a talk show host. Montel Williams, he's a freak. Allegedly, he's allegedly a freak. So, allegedly, he will have been going to the parties with his then girlfriend, Kamala, who could be black or may not be black, allegedly. And so maybe it could be, she's done all of this, or all of this has been happening just to make sure that she is safe and secure in her position, because you can't have anything tainting a potential president of leader of the first world or whatever. So I don't know. There's all of these, but what do I know? I'm just a conspiracy theorist.
Exactly. Yeah.
But everything happens for a reason, though, right? So all the dark arts that Diddy's been into, the dark stuff, the way he's treated people, and the other people that have let it happen. Don't forget, these people that was at these parties, they saw things happening. They didn't come and tell the police about anything. So that means they were aiding and abetting, surely.
Of course it is, mate. Look, when you use the word cult, Hollywood is a massive cult. They're all involved in one way or another, and the ones who
even back in the days of Hollywood, the actors, that Charlie Chaplin, back in them days, they went to some mad practices. The houses that are all connected underground. The Grand Canyon, not the Grand Canyon, Tales from the Canyon. There's a book called Tales from the Canyon, and all these Hollywood. This is the 40s and 50s Hollywood icons. Houses all connected. There'll be chambers underground. They're having like these, I guess, freak-offs as well, but with candle burning. So there's candle rituals going on and all. And then you get into things like the Mansons. All of the things that we've been told, there's a lot of questions to be asked about the validity and how they actually came to be. And then they wonder why the weight of the world is on so many men's shoulders to get it back to where we started. Because we've been having to carry, or we've been having to hide or suppress or carry someone else's burdens that don't want to be caught or don't want to be found out. So then they will push extra stuff on us to either distract us or force us to look in different directions so they can get away with literally murdering cases.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you look at the people who've spoken out against the system. Kennedy, for example, killed, and there's Michael Jackson, and I mean the list is scary long. And it's like when you look at men, what you said, the only people who can stop them are men, aged between 18 and 30, look at what they're doing to that age group of men. You know,
Yes.
in the thing that enrages me is the whole, you know, gender. You can change your gender at 5-6 years old and stuff. That's there's no patience in me for that. That's just rage.
Let children be children. Whenever they turn into an adult, you know, when you're a child, you think as a child, you act like a child. Let them become an adult first, and then they can do adult things. Let them be children for as long as they can. Don't be. It's like they're forcing some parents because they want to be so cool. They want to be, oh yeah, my kids. I've put my kids on hormone replacement. I'm like, come on, they're 7. What are you doing? Oh, because she woke up and said she wanted to be a cat. So because there's kids now in nurseries that are identifying as a cat, so they've got a litter tray for them to go to, and I'm like, come on now, that's being stupid. It's
common sense is not common anymore.
Yeah, and when you try and say it, then you're called an ist, or you're labelled in a negative way. When all we're doing is seeing the sense and there's nonsense. And when we speak out about the nonsense, we are called nonsensical. But really, when you use your eyesight that God has given you, and you can see things for what they are, but you're not allowed to say that. You've got to say no. Well, if they identify as that, then I guess, you know, that's what they are.
No,
it's different when they get older. When they get older, then you know there are more complex. So I don't want to just sweep everyone under the same brush.
Yeah, that's a different conversation topic. Yeah, when you get older.
But when they're little and at school age and stuff, no, because you know, when I was little, I wanted to be an accountant, and then I wanted to be an astronaut, and then I wanted to be a postman. So, and I achieved none of them. So does that mean I'm a failure? So it's that thing of why then are children being given a lot of voice at that young age to say I want to change my makeup, my genetical makeup, because my friend that I see on YouTube, this person that I watch YouTube videos on a nighttime has done the same thing. So I want to do what they're doing because they're so cool.
Yeah, kids are so impressionable, aren't they? And it's like, in order to think, you need to risk being offensive.
Yeah.
And I think people just need to be like, yeah, you're calling me an ist. Okay, that's fine. I'm fine with that. You need to be fine with not being accepted into society and societal norms. Slavery was once normal.
Yes.
It was once widely accepted in society. So that breaks the argument of following society. You know, people need to be able to think for themselves, and critical thinking and question everything, and logic needs to be at the forefront, and facts need to be at the forefront, and evidence and proof and all these things
need to be independent fact, not fact checked by bots and stuff that are already pre-programmed to say things in a different way, but independently fact checked. But unfortunately, sometimes like you get a video and there's the fact checker box underneath it, so people are like, oh, it's false anyway, because they don't even watch the video because it's like, oh, sorry, and they're like, oh, well, it's fact checked, so therefore it's bogus. You haven't even watched it though. Yeah, but he says that, so therefore, I'm not going to watch it. You're too much of a conspiracy theorist, mate.
It's that thing. It's when we say brainwash, like even music has, like the 808 drum directly affects your sexual chakra. It activates
the frequency of it.
The frequency and the waves and all that kind of stuff. Like people don't know about this energy, and negative and positive energy.
Things in different ways. So I think the natural harmony used to be 48, and now everything's tuned to 44.1. So 48 is natural. That's where you get the rhythmical like sand patterns or whatever when the sound. But you change it to 44.1 and you get ugly patterns. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, we need to know these things, Wayne. It's like if you go say that to the average person, oh, do you know music? The frequency used to be 48, now it's 44.1. They're going to be like, yeah, and
you know, exactly,
because they don't. Knowledge is not a thing that's sought after anymore. And when you go back to who's responsible in all these things, and I think first and foremost, the devil. The devil's main goal is to take people away from the belief in God or the remembrance of God. Then you've got the devil's minions, which can be people, and his actual minions, what we call jinn.
Yeah.
I think people call them poltergeists, whatever. And then people, yeah, like he does influence people to believe in him. Look at how many devil worshippers there are now. And then the Antichrist, his system, that there's people who believe that he's going to be a Messiah. So they're actually preparing the world for his arrival. I speak to my, I'm not going to say friends because they're not. When I speak to Jewish people, they openly say the words, "Yeah, God chose us as the chosen ones." And every well, what they say is every other person that's been created has been created to serve the Jews.
But the thing is, but factually, those Jews aren't the original Jews. And but that's all I can say.
Exactly.
That's all I can say.
Exactly. But that's
Actually, and when you look into history, and the history is there, they aren't the original Jews. The original Jews looked more like me than them.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can't remember the name of the guy, but they said the Jews left black and came back white. But I don't want to say too much and get you banned. Or get,
no, mate. The thing
it's that kind of thing, and I don't know the whole. I don't want to go too much down that route because otherwise it'll just open up a can of worms.
Yeah. It's that, you know, Malcolm X is a big influence of mine. It's like, cancel me, ban me. I don't care. You can take me off YouTube, take me off the internet. I'll just go out into the streets and preach. Don't care. Literally don't care. Not going to abide by their rules, their algorithms. It doesn't matter to me. It's like the truth is more. Allah says in the Quran, separate truth from falsehood. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do what he says.
Yes.
I'm going back to him. I'm going to answer to him. I'm not answering to you or to anyone else. He's the guy, right? So it's a conversation. I think a lot of people say, you know, the people who you cannot criticize, they're the ones who control you, and it is them. It is them, and that's what. Yeah.
The nail on the head.
Yeah. And it is a war. It's a war on information.
Yeah.
It's a war on logic.
War on
right?
divinity. War on spirit. It's a spiritual war.
War on spirit, yeah. And then there's an actual war that's actually happening as well. And it's like people say you shouldn't pick sides, and I think no, pick a side, pick the truth, pick the side that's on the truth, and you'll go far. But Wayne, man, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
I'm so pleased we was able to get it sorted. I'm so pleased.
Yeah, I'd love to have you back on as well. And just from hearing you speak, man, I think like you'd be an amazing asset to the Muslim world. You can influence so many. The way you speak, the charisma, the charm that you have, would go a long way. So I'd love to, like, off screen, you know, chat more to you about that kind of stuff. And we haven't even met, like, for
years and years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, since you chewed my head off and taught me.
Oh, but I knew that there was a positive spin on it because I hate people like Simon Cowell that'll just, you know, when them talent shows, they'll be looking at each other and just laughing at an artist who's putting their heart and soul into it. I hate that. No one should ever be degraded because they think because they believe in themselves, and that's wrong. So I'm always going to give, because the only way for people to grow is to get some constructive, someone to nurture the seeds properly. You know, if you're watering gently, or if you're going to throw like bleach on seeds, it's not going to grow. But if you water gently with that and give it a little bit of corrective thing, of course, it's going to grow into a strong tree with strong roots, and that's what we need.
I appreciate you, man. You changed my life, honestly. It was only 5 minutes as well. And those 5 minutes changed my life completely. And I'll always have respect and admiration for you, man, for that. But thank you so much for coming on. And I'm just going to stop the recording. Everyone who's watching, Jazakallah khair, thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you in the next episode.